Hello everyone and welcome to another watercolor tutorial. We're going to be painting this ice cream cone today. So we're going to first start out with the cone and then we'll paint the ice cream afterwards. And it's a pretty simple process. First you're just going to take some brown watercolor and paint the cone, which is just a really simple triangular shape that is curved a little bit at the top. You're welcome to pencil in a little guide for yourself first if you wish. I've done so, but I've just erased the lines so that they're not as harsh, because if they're really harsh then it tends to show through the watercolor and we don't want that, of course. So I'm just filling this guy in, making sure to not go over where my ice cream is going to be. So nice and easy. I'm just gonna lift off some of my paint in the center because I want to make it look like there's sort of a highlight on one side of the cone. So we're gonna let this dry before we move on to the next step. Okay, so the next step in our little waffle cone here is okay, so our next step in painting the waffle cone is just defining, the little squares that make up the waffle look. And we have to be mindful of painting them in a concave shape because it's a rounded cone. We want it to make it look 3D. So you're taking your brown watercolor, you can add a little bit of black to it if you feel like it's not dark enough. I frequently do that. And we're just painting our squares, like I said, in that rounded shape. And you are welcome to take a pencil and very lightly draw a curved line for yourself so you have a bit of a guide to go off of. Try not to make it too dark so that you can't erase it easily later. And begin painting your squares. Now, the way that I'm doing it is I'm just kind of painting an L shape. And I'm leaving the rest. And this is because before it dries, I'm gonna go over it and just spread it out and create a gradient within a square. I'm gonna go a little bit closer just to show you again. So, painting my L, and then I'm rinsing my brush so that there's just water on it, and I'm dragging that pigment from the L outwards into a square shape. And then I'm just repeating the process for the next row there. Okay, so once your cone is complete, we can move on to the ice cream at the top. So you can choose to make your ice cream whatever flavor, I suppose, that you want to make it. I'm gonna start off with strawberry, I suppose, or like cherry flavored or something. But I'm just taking really light pink, very watered down pink, and I'm creating the scoops. So I'm gonna have two scoops that are on top of one another, And I'm gonna have them have this like chunky bottom, and then they'll sort of swoop upwards a little bit. So I just do want to water this down quite a bit. Because I want to make sure that I have control over my shading. So I'm lifting off quite a bit of pigment there. And then my second scoop, yeah, I guess I'll make both of them strawberry flavored or some sort of whatever's pink. So they're two blobs on top of one another. And I'm gonna have a cherry on the very top. But because the red is going to be quite pigmented, like it's okay if I paint over it completely. And I just want to create this light spot, because again, I want to create some shading. So I'm gonna have a darker spot here at the bottom. And then another shaded area over here. So you can just keep adding pink to random areas to create the shading in the desired places that you want it. So I quite like how that looks. It kind of looks textured, and I don't know if that's the paper or just the way the watercolor has settled, but I really like how that looks. So I'm going to let this dry, and then we'll move on to painting our cherry and sprinkles or whatever the heck else we want to decorate our ice cream with. Okay, so before we really get into the final sprinkles and details, I just wanted to add a few more details in terms of the shading department. So I do want to make my ice cream cone a little bit more intense. So I'm just adding, this part is completely dry now, obviously, so I'm adding some very, very, very pigmented brush strokes, just outlining the areas that I want to have a little bit more shading. So the scoop underneath, under the first scoop there is obviously going to have some shading underneath it, because the scoop on top should be a little bit bigger, so it's adding some shadow. And I'm just going to gradient that out. So that looks a little bit more realistic because we've added some extra shading. And I want to do the same to the bottom of my cone here, just because the ice cream is supposed to be overlapping the cone. So there should be a lot more shading going on there. So I'm just mixing a little bit of black in with my brown. And I'm kind of creating the illusion that there's another row of those waffly squares on top of the ones that I had already painted. And we're also going to make the ones that we've painted a little bit darker as well. The last thing that we're gonna do is add our little cherry on top. So you're gonna grab your red watercolor, of course, and we're just gonna paint it right on. And that's our ice cream. I hope you guys enjoyed this ice cream tutorial. If you did, don't forget to subscribe, hit like on this video, and I'll see you in the next one.